It's great to be with you today. It's been, since last year, we've had a lot happen in our community. And when we began talking about the year 2020 and what we wanted to present today, it became very clear to all of us that this year is going to be a year of choices and changes. It's going to be a transformational year for the city of Punta Gorda. You've already met the City Council, and I just want to remind you that we are your partners in managing change and in making choices. And we love working with our community. It's also a pleasure to be able to talk to you about our city staff. I just love what they all do all year long to support this community. They not only have a customer focus in helping you day in and day out, but they support this community. If you see here on the left side of the screen, this myriad of activities. And a lot of these, we've got the PGPD in the back here. You'll see some of the things that they have done in supporting this community beyond the normal work that we expect of them. And it's just awesome. And every year this list keeps growing. And it's not only supporting Punta Gorda, but it's supporting Charlotte County and even beyond, as you see Fire Chief Ray Briggs in the center in his mission trip to Guatemala. So it's pretty awesome. Give these guys a round of applause for their support. Thank you, PGPD, for your efforts. So what would a discussion about changes and choices be without talking about our finances? One of the choices we made last year was to raise our millage rate from 3.1969, which it had been for many years, to 3.4337. And some of you, a lot of you probably know this, but some of you may not, that the city of Punta Gorda actually does not have any assessments. If you live in Charlotte County, show of hands for Charlotte County, you know that on your tax bill you have a lot of assessments. We don't have those in the city of Punta Gorda. It's all combined into our millage rate. And when you compare what other municipalities around Southwest Florida do, they have things like debt service, roads, drainage, stormwater, and fire service, and those are all, in many cases, those are assessments. Those are all included in our millage rate. The only thing that is not in our millage rate, which you see on this slide, is our sanitation and water and sewer. Those are enterprise funds for us. But when you look at combining all of those other municipalities, all their assessments and their ad valorem taxes, Punta Gorda still is the third lowest in combined assessments and ad valorem of all the municipalities in Southwest Florida. So we are still a really great value living here in Punta Gorda, and we're very proud of that. Another way to look at this is when you add up all of what would be an assessment, the paving, the drainage, the police, the fire, and the public works, the public works operating expenses, that comes to over 5.2 mils. And our millage rate that we pay is 3.4337. So it's over 2 mils more of expense that you don't pay for because we have other sources of revenue. So it just shows what a great value it is living here and how well we manage our resources here in Punta Gorda. Another goal that we have is to increase the amount of money that we all allocate to reserves. This year, our planned reserves is 8.5%, as you see up here. And we increase that at 0.5% each year until we reach the national standard, which is 16.7%. And that's 2 months of operating expenses. The light blue color is actually what is at the end of the year, those are the unplanned reserves. So you can see we actually end up doing, at the end of the year, much better than what we plan. But the goal is to be able to plan for 16.7% in reserves. This is an interesting slide. We like to show some of the economic indicators around our community. And if you look down the right-hand side, you'll notice that we had an uptick in the number of businesses this year. And the certificates of occupancy were up slightly, but some of the building permits were down. And as we started talking about this, It's because there's a real lag between when a building permit is issued and when a project is finished. As you know, when you live in the neighborhoods, you see how long it can take to build some of these houses or for a commercial site to get finished. We also took a look at since October, what's happened in the community. And since October, we've had 25 building permits for single-family homes, and we've actually had 3 permits for duplexes. So we are on an uptick, and all you have to do is take one look around the community and you know there are things going on here. So let's talk about some of these changes that have been going on. What I want you to think about, a couple of things. You know, sometimes people think that government moves at a snail's pace, but some of these things we work on take a long time to gestate and to figure out how are we going to get this done. Because we have no shortage of ideas here. It's really how are we going to do it and how are we going to pay for it. The other thing I want you to look at as we go through here, we mentioned the sources of revenue. And one of the most important sources of revenue we have around here is our local option sales tax. And that's a huge source of revenue for us to do these projects that our community wants. So pay attention to that. I'm not allowed to lobby to encourage you to vote for the local option sales tax. That's going to be up for vote on this November. But what I can do is educate you and the rest of the community on what we have done with these funds and what we're planning to do with these funds and how important they are to this community and building things that have become the fabric of our community. So you'll see that as we go through this. Veterans Park has been under construction for a long time. Anyone here remember the Freedom Fountain project? A few hands go up. That was, I don't know how many years ago now. I know, Shelley, you were involved in that and helping. What? Suzanne McCormick. Yes, Suzanne McCormick led that project, and you were helping shepherd that project. And then the Vietnam Wall came into being. And when the Vietnam Wall came into being, it really made the rest of the park look shabby. And we have been talking about necessary changes in the park over time, but then the impetus became even more apparent that we needed to get something done. So thank you to the board of the Vietnam Wall, who raised funds and have done a number of the projects around that park, but we needed to get it done. We've got an event coming here on March the 28th. It's the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans event. It's going to be huge. And that event is going to have Lee Greenwood here singing Stand Up America. So it's going to be a big event for our community, and we wanted to have this park finished. So last year, the City Council reallocated some funds that were local option sales tax funds that were earmarked for Lashley Park. We reallocated that to Veterans Park because actually Veterans Park is a part of Lashley Park, so that we could get this done. So you see the list of the amenities, the enhancements that we're working on. And this picture actually is old, and it was just taken. You'll see here where I'm pointing, the concrete's been poured, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more that's been done even since the concrete got poured. And it's soon to be completed. So it's a wonderful project, really proud of it. How many have seen the Taj Mahal of pedestrian bridges? Yeah, you know, I remember back when we first started talking about the idea of putting a multi-use recreational trail down US 41. And it was mentioned that, well, it would be nice to have some pedestrian bridges, but you can go up over the shoulder and ride along the shoulder of 41 over the bridges. Has anybody done that? It's scary. I've done it myself. And so we were so excited when the Florida Department of Transportation said we are going to be funding a series of these bridges, pedestrian bridges that are needed, because they're working on the Sun Trail system, which is connecting all the pathways throughout the state of Florida. Well, little did we know what kind of a great pedestrian bridge this would be. But you know, Howard and I've talked about this, and people have questioned us on this. But even if we were to scale this down and try to put in something much less expensive, the amount of money that it would take for us to put a pedestrian bridge in would be much more than what we are actually paying out of the portion of the bridge, or the cost to build this bridge. So it really is a good value for us as a community. I noticed this week they put the decorator lights on it, and they've started putting decorative hand railing on it, so it's really starting to take shape, soon to be finished, that we can all enjoy. And as I like to joke around and said, remember I don't know if any of you have seen the movie The Bridge Over River Kwai? Remember when they had to break cadence in order to walk across the bridge? They would not have to break cadence to walk across this bridge. Buckley's Pass. We started talking about this as a community, I think it was in the early 2000s. I remember being at a Team Punta Gorda meeting when, God bless his soul, Jay Buckley was pitching this project. And he was the chair of the Waterfront, the Team Punta Gorda Waterfront Committee. And he was pitching this project, and we were like, wow, it makes sense, but it just seems like such a pipe dream. And then over the years, it keeps getting talked about and talked about. And then in March of 2015, there was a meeting at the Isles Yacht Club, and Howard, I know you were there, and it then became apparent that this project was going to get momentum. So in May of that same year, City Council voted to take this on as a project, and we hired Hans Wilson to start the engineering activity, which has now led to Buckley's Pass actually coming to reality. And it's hard for me to believe that in just a couple months, we'll have vessels navigating their way through Buckley's Pass over to Alligator Creek. So for those who live in the bird section of PGI, this is going to be a great, great asset. Okay, there we go. The community's also talked about adding a reverse osmosis water treatment plant for quite some time. The discussion started back in the 2008-2009 timeframe, and then the economic downturn happened, and the then City Council decided around 2011, well, this doesn't quite make sense for us to do this right now. But then it was just a couple years later, and the City Council said, hey, let's put this back and let's on the agenda and see if we can get this built. Thank you to the Southwest Florida Water Management District, better known as SwiftMud, who provided almost 50% of the funding for this project. It's going to be completed in the May-June timeframe. And the great thing about this is it's going to increase our capacity, as you see up here, the 1 million gallons per day of water, and it's going to allow us to meet all of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection standards. In fact, we could even do better than that with this new plant. So that's a really great thing for our community. Now on the other side, another kind of water, the wastewater, we need to build a new plant. And the FDEP has a requirement that when you reach your minimum daily flow, reaches a percentage of capacity, that you must start to plan for a new plant. Well, we're there. And so we had a consultant come through, evaluate our situation, and last week at City Council meeting presented two situations. One was that we could take our existing plant and we could take out what's not going to work well, and we'll add in new pieces that would expand the capacity of the plant, or we could build a new one. The difference is about $1 million more to build a new one, but the new one would be much more technologically advanced, allow for additional functions, and it would be a lot more cost-effective to run. So in the long run, it's actually better off, we're better off building a whole new plant. So that's what the City Council decided to do. Obviously, there's a lot more work to be done on this. The first thing we have to do is to renegotiate our lease where the water treatment plant is with the Florida Fish and Wildlife. And the funding on this is going to be $38.8 million estimated. Unfortunately, we don't have a partner like SwiftMud when it comes to wastewater, but we will do a rate study, hire a consultant to do a rate study to determine how is this going to impact our sewage rates? And unfortunately, there probably will be an increase, but I can't really specify what that might be at this time. We've also been anticipating for quite a while that we are going to be able to upgrade the city's communications, the citywide radio communications, and this has been funded. We've set aside local option sales tax dollars for quite a few years now, and we're waiting to do this in sync with Charlotte County. It is imperative. It's imperative that we have good communication with our partners like Charlotte County, and for us to be on the same system so we have seamless communication. So events like you might have read in the paper yesterday where they thought there might have been an active shooter at one of the schools, that there's seamless communication, so when something happens, we can communicate. All of our partners can communicate. Our police and fire have been upgraded, but I understand that our public works and our utilities department are in the process of being upgraded. We have talked about Gilchrist Park for over a decade. I remember these discussions. Anybody else remember some of these discussions? Yep, a few hands are going up. And finally, we're talking about putting in the Harbor Walk, extending the Harbor Walk at Gilchrist Park Area 2. That would be from the gazebo over to just past Berry Street. So in the February-March timeframe, we'll let the bid out for that, and hopefully we can start on that this summer. And when that's completed, then we'll continue the discussion about the rest of the amenities in Area 2, how much parking do we really need, et cetera. And again, sales tax funds at play. Ponce de Leon, updating that, we've talked about that for many years, and the conversation got changed to allowing the Peace River Wildlife Center to move into the park, and now they're not going to be in the park. So what we're doing is we are going to take care of some much needed improvements to the boardwalk, the seawall, and the pier. And then once the Peace River Wildlife Center moves out of the park, then we can evaluate what are the other things that we need to do as far as it could be restrooms or what other things need to be changed at Ponce Park. We're also making some changes at the nature park. And this is the nature park. It's at the corner of Akiasta and Bell Harbor, if you're not familiar with where that is. And it's very easy to see the trail that's going to be help with the drainage here. The observation point is right over here at the lake. The parking is where the P is. It's a wonderful, wonderful park. And thanks to the PGI Green Thumbs for all the work that they do to make this park so, so special. We have talked about complete streets programs for a long time, and we've got 3 projects. Last year we were talking about the fact that they were in the planning stages. Well, now they're all in the design stage. And the picture you see here is of the complete street project on Airport Road from US 41 over to Cooper Street. And you can see the amenities up here that are going to be added: sidewalks, bicycle facilities, decorative lights, and trees. Again, sales tax dollars are helping to fund the design, but the rest of it's unfunded. And the next project goes on Cooper Street from Airport Road up to Marion. And it's in the design phase, but when these are completed, then that will actually give our entire city access to our multi-use trail system, so people can use alternate transportation throughout our city. And the third project is to add decorative lighting on Shreve Street, and then to widen this sidewalk. All right, get the sidewalk right down here that's south of the Charlotte State Bank, because right now it's just a sidewalk, and we want to make that more like a multi-use trail. Again, sales tax funds are helping to pay for the design, but the rest of it's unfunded. The Corto Andra Boca Grande area that's east of US 41, east of Ghetto Toyota, that area of our community, after a major rainstorm, the water just sits in there. The drainage is really horrible. And it's going to cost us about $4 million to complete the project. We're trying to work with partners to come up with some of the funding. In the meantime, what we are doing right now is working on acquiring property for the drainage areas, for the project. Our swale drainage program in Punta Gorda has been wildly successful. And thanks to our investment in GIS technology, it's allowed our public works team to go out 72 hours after a major rain event, and they will film all of the swales in Punta Gorda, video film, these in one day. And then they sit down and they look at all these swales and they prioritize from the worst to on down to come up with the work for the year. And of course we do get feedback from residents that after we've already come up with the list, and they'll say, but what about me? So there's always discussions and modifications. We're always working to upgrade our facilities to meet ADA standards. It's important not just for our community, but for our employees as well. So we're working on the website. That's a big hot ticket item now. Throughout all the communities in Florida is upgrading your websites to make them ADA compliant. That's a whole different discussion. As well, we're adding signage, great signage all throughout all of our properties, and we'll continue to upgrade our community every year. So who's seen this picture somewhere around the community? I see some hands go up. Where is this picture? Where do you find this picture? It's out somewhere out in our community. It's what? On the visitor's sign? Guide. I don't know if it's on the visitor's guide. I don't think so.
I saw it on the website.
No, is it on our website? It's on the Facebook. Yes, it is. It's at the airport. It's in the baggage claim of the airport. So this sign is welcome home. And we're welcoming everybody to Florida's Harborside hometown. So all right, we've got some choices to make this year, and you all need to help us out. One of these that we just made last week was to officially approve negotiating a lease with the Peace River Wildlife Center for the West Henry Street property. So if you look at this diagram, I'll try to point some things out to you. This area that I'm pointing to is where the Peace River Wildlife Center will go. The area over here to the right of the master pumping station, that's for future expansion for the Peace River Wildlife Center. Down here at the bottom, we'll be expanding the parking lots because we have lots of furry friends and their parents that come, but also all the Peace River Wildlife Center visitors will need parking spaces. And we'll probably do some enhancements here to the dog park. There's also been a suggestion that's been submitted to our local options sales tax committee to add a trail system going through the park that goes from the history park, by the library, by the dog park, over and around through the wildlife center, and connecting with the linear park. And adding a restroom facility. The dog owners, can you imagine why the dog owners would want to have a restroom they can use there? So we're looking to see if we can get this on our sales tax list. Speaking of the dog park, did anybody here go to the bark shop? I see a hand go up. 2 weeks ago, our staff had we called it a bark shop, but it was all of the furry friends brought their parents with them over to the park, and we had, for a day on a Friday, we listened to what everyone wanted as far as amenities and enhancements to the dog park. Staff is taking all that into consideration, so as we make improvements, we can help better meet the needs of our community. In October, City Council made the decision to retain the Bayfront Center and the Punta Gorda Boat Club buildings and not to tear them down and build some other building. So now, last week, we just approved negotiating a lease with the Punta Gorda Boat Club. And now we're going to be putting together some plans architectural plans on how we can enhance each of the buildings and make them look more like it's a campus on the west end of Gilchrist Park. We have been talking about our septic to sewer plan for quite a while now, and we've used the same consultants that our county partners have been using to look at our our utility service area outside of the city where all of these septic systems are. Within the city, we don't have septic systems. And what you see here are where the concentration of the most concentration of septic systems are. And we're focused right now on 1, 2, and 3 right here, which is Charlotte Park. And next, let's see, on February the 18th, Howard, our city manager, is going to be meeting with the county utilities board to discuss our plan and to hopefully get their agreement, because this is actually in the county. And so we have to have the county's agreement to work with us on this. And it just so happens that the county's utility board is comprised of all 5 county commissioners. So it'll be an interesting discussion. We're looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. There's certainly a plethora of things to do that have come out of the citywide master plan. And thank you all for participating in this and making it very productive. And one of the things, the first things that we decided that we want to work on are the conversion of our land development regulations to form-based codes. This is going to be the contract with Dover Coal to begin this process is going to be on the city council agenda next on February the 5th, which will be actually next week. And here's a comparison to contrast converting to form-based codes. One of the things that was very clear in the citywide master plan is that you all wanted to see us preserve the historic character of this community. So if you look on the left, you see our land development regulations. There have been comments relative to a building that got built downtown that people said, well, it really doesn't fit the historic character of our community. So I'm not going to name names, but if we look to the right and we see form-based codes are going to help us address the relationship of buildings with their environment and what is around them. It's going to help us. It's actually going to be our partner in helping preserve the historic character of the community. You're going to have lots of opportunity to participate in this process. So this brings me to our local option sales tax once again. And here's some of the things that we have done with the tax dollars. The pictures here of the public safety complex at US 41. We would be without that. On the right, the brand new library built with local option sales tax dollars and with a contribution from the Friends of the Library. On the lower left, that's our Harbor Walk. Our Harbor Walk was built with local option sales tax dollars. And on the lower right, that's our pathway system. I mean, these things are the fabric of our community now. And to think about what this community was like without them. Who here is on one of the committees for the city or the county with the local option sales tax? I see a couple hands going up here. Thank you for what you're doing. It's a lot of work to evaluate all these projects that are submitted in the county and in the city. Our team is evaluating them. They're going to submit them to our city council in April. We will then approve the list that will go to the county, and then the county will decide whether this is going to be a 4 or a 6-year extension, and then we will all have the opportunity to support this and vote for it in November. So I think this brings me to a point in the conversation where there's one more thing on the table here to discuss, another change this year. And it's been a long time in coming, but it's finally here. It's a sad day for us. 15 years ago, Howard, 15 years ago, our then city council made an unbelievable choice. What'd you say? Get them out of here. Get them out of here. They made an unbelievable choice. When you think about what was going on back in 2005 when Howard was hired, Hurricane Charlie had hit. This community was not back together again. You know, Humpty Dumpty had fallen. And it was, you know, we were trying to piece the puzzles back together again. And the community wanted to make this a place that was better than what we had it before. And it was going to take a special person to be able to do this. We were blessed that a person got hired, in my opinion, because I was a volunteer, a community volunteer back then. We were blessed that this person encouraged empowerment and encouraged innovation. Because when we contact city staff, it seemed like things could get done. It was wonderful working with the city staff. And he was also very supportive of collaboration. If you have read or watched the presentation that he put together, it's called Results Through Collaboration, The Power of Partnerships. It's won an award, and it's up on the city's website. Has anyone seen this? Not many hands going up. You need to go to the city's website. Look under communications and look for this presentation, Results Through Collaboration, The Power of Partnerships. It will tell you all the things that have happened since Howard came here, and all the partnerships, the groups. It's not just been city government, but it's been businesses, residents, and organizations working together that have made things happen in this community. It's been so powerful. Howard, we really are going to miss you, and you're going to be a tough act to follow, but our city council is up for the challenge, and we will finalize our process at our February 5th meeting, and then we will start the advertising with the goal of, by the last week in May, we will have a short list of candidates. We'll bring them in for interviews, and we will have a small committee of business people and residents that will also participate in the process in interviewing and providing some feedback. And the goal is to be able to have someone identified that we can hire and name and announce by July the 8th, before the council goes on summer break, so that we will know who that person is, because Howard's last day, so he's telling us, is October 2nd. So he's timing this to be the end of the FY 2020 fiscal year. He's actually missing it by 2 days, but we're not counting. And that the new person the new city manager will start on October the 5th. So that's the plan. Howard, thank you. Let's give Howard a big round of applause. We really appreciate you. So that brings me to the conclusion. And I wanted to share with you that last year we said that we would, this would be the year of engagement, 2019. And it certainly was. And I went through the list today of all the things that we did last year and all of the hundreds of people that showed up. And a motivational speaker that I heard one time said, the greatest power you have is the power to choose. And I want to thank you all for choosing to participate and choosing to be our partners in managing change in this community and managing change to our benefit. And our partners in making choices. And think about this. We all want it to be years from now when people look back and they say, look what they did in Punta Gorda. Look what they have accomplished. Wow. So thank you. It's going to be a great year. Now let's get started.